I took Oki to the groomer, which I hate. Can we call it something else? I was telling
they're grooming the dogs.
I was telling my Twitch chat, because somebody was like, oh, I want to take my dog to the groomer, but like, I don't want to leave them in a strange place. And I was like, oh, they have ones that they can just like pull up. They have like a van. They just pull up in front of your house and they're like
groom your dogs.
A groomer that pulls up in a van.
Yeah, they're turning the frogs gay and they're grooming the dogs.
They're grooming the dogs.
Do you follow people online who you hate?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's why I don't. You know how people will like block their exes?
Yeah.
I've never blocked an ex. I will hate watch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, not people who you're personally connected to. Someone who you like despise their political views. I get the whole, retweet is an endorsement or like follows aren't endorsement. But one thing I noticed that every time I have a tweet that pops off, I will get a bunch of follows from people who I know are in total opposition.
Right. They're not fans, but they want to know. They want to be knowers. They want to know what you're up to.
And it'll always be people who have like some type of following. And so I can kind of, I click on their profile and I know immediately who they are. And I know that the type of content that they do or, the following that they have gained online is because they say things that are totally the opposite of what I do. So I'm like, why are you following me now?
Yeah, I won't follow people if I really don't want to be seen having followed them. Okay. But that doesn't mean I'm not seeing what they're posting.
So, okay, for example, a tweet goes viral. Right? Or whatever. It's someone you don't follow. It ends up on your homepage. Okay. Yeah. If you hate that tweet and thereby you probably hate the person who tweeted it because that's how the internet works. Right. Do you go then follow them?
No, because I don't want people to see that I followed them because then they'll think I endorsed them.
Okay, but also like why follow that person? I've never been that.
You know what I think it is? I think they want you to see they followed you. I think that they're like, I'm here.
That it's like, listen, bitch.
Yeah, it's like they showed up at the party with your ex.
Right, because like, my recent tweet where I'm basically calling out reactionary content creators, specifically female reactionary content creators who are using the pop culture celebrity news space to push a very regressive agenda.
Right.
All these girlies, first of all, I screenshotted tweets. They all saw the tweet. Right. They came into the comments. They've been quote tweeting, trying, riling up their fan bases. But then additionally, I've been followed by a number of accounts that I've seen before because I've seen their heinous shit pop up on my timeline. So I'm like, why? I'm like, that person's familiar. Click on their page. I'm like, oh, right. Because she's she's a Nazi Barbie. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. Another Nazi Barbie has followed me.
Have you ever
here.
Have you ever had, and I don't know why people aren't smarter than this, have you ever had, this is more on a personal level, but like maybe like somebody that you like kind of know but not really will follow you, and then all of their friends will follow you at the same time, and you're like, what's happening?
And I
Who's
know
talking?
and I know
chat.
that if I go to one of these Nazi Barbie profiles, that I'll see in the comments, right? They're in, they and their ilk are
good word.
Thank you. Are talking about me.
Yeah.
Right. And then they all go follow me. So I'm like, what's going on here, ladies?
They're fans.
You're just such
I think they might be fans.
You just think I'm really pretty.
I think they're fans.
So pretty and smart. But I'm like, you planning to go to war here? What's going on?
Yeah, they're gathering their troops.
Yeah, it is.
They've got their sights on you.
They have.
Yeah, no, I don't usually follow people that I hate, but I will still see. And you know what?
I'm not talking about hate watching. Okay, everybody hate watches stuff.
I hate watch.
I'm talking specifically about
the Nazi Barbies.
The Nazi Barbies.
Can you imagine if Barbie was like, we're pivoting? Oh, can I tell you something speaking of Barbies?
Yeah.
So I went to Universal Studios the other day because I was bored, and I have a year pass.
And you never use it.
And it's expiring in like 20 days.
Yeah.
So I took Oki to the groomer, which I hate. Can we call it something else? I was telling
they're grooming the dogs.
I was telling my Twitch chat, because somebody was like, oh, I want to take my dog to the groomer, but like, I'm afraid that like, I don't want to leave them in a strange place. And I was like, oh, they have ones that they can just like pull up. They have like a van. They just pull up in front of your house and they're like
groom your dogs.
A groomer that pulls up in a van.
Yeah, they're turning the frogs gay and they're grooming the dogs.
They're grooming the dogs. But I took her to the spa.
The spa.
She smells great.
Look at her. She looks post spa.
She looks so dainty. And I went to Universal and I saw.
You saw
these. I'm not gonna fully take it out.
Okay.
The Ariana Grande Wicked. Actually, it was all the characters. The Wicked Barbies.
Oh.
Ours though. Has the porn website on.
That is. I'm telling you, that is going to be worth $1 million. That's your retirement right there. Retirement. It is.
Thanks, Mom.
By the way, I saw a comment on our last episode because we had talked about Casey Anthony, right?
Right.
And somebody was like, "Okay, speaking of true crime, they thought that was a John Benet Ramsey doll."
Who's John Benet Ramsey?
You know John Benet Ramsey, the little girl who did beauty pageants. It's like one of the most famous true crime cases. As somebody who listens to true crime, you know who John Benet is.
You'd think, right?
What?
Oh, no. I do because don't people think that like she's Katy Perry? Like there was some stupid true crime.
I mean, like there's so many conspiracies.
We should pivot into something that you should talk about that you were telling me about earlier off of this. So before we get into that, this John Benet Ramsey.
Well, can we just say for the record, not John Benet Ramsey?
No.
Okay, we're weird. Also, we're not weird like that.
Not that weird. That's weird. Can you imagine getting like action figure dolls of like all of Jeffrey Dahmer's like victims?
But people have them. They've got tattoos.
Yeah.
You know that they have dolls and shit.
God. Yeah, people think, and I could be totally butchering this, but she died and then people are like adding up birth years and stuff. Let me see if it's Katy Perry.
This is what Yes,
people think Katy Perry is her and they changed her identity.
Bro, I'm telling you, this is why earlier I was like, all of these spaces, true crime, wellness, pop culture, celeb news, there's all these pipelines now that lead to like crazy QAnon, right-wing beliefs. There are people who have tied John Benet Ramsey, for instance, into like having been harvested, all the adrenochrome crazy shit, which is, what QAnon people believe. But it's all this conspiracy theory stuff proliferates in these spaces where you have. So this is what, going back to the tweet, you have a lot of women who consume this type of content, right? Beauty content, wellness content, true crime content, celebrity news content. And like these really crazy, very reactionary beliefs are flourishing there. And so first stop is like, oh, okay, I want to learn about this thing happening in Hollywood. Next stop is like, oh yeah, Hollywood is running a child sex trafficking pedophile ring. Like Tom Hanks, Oprah Winfrey, all these people they're all doing it.
Right. So tell me about the thing that happened in the news. Wait, can we pause? I need to grab my water.
Yes.
But you can talk about it because they don't need to see me grab my water.
Oh, maybe they want to.
Well, you know what I just saw? Look what's on the ground under the desk. So, Patreon listeners will know. Non-Patreon listeners will not know. On the Patreon last episode, Caroline was convinced she could sneeze with her eyes open, so she stuck that up her nose. It's a plant.
I remember you encouraging me.
I did. No,
I think that was your idea.
Yeah, for sure. And it was under the desk on the floor,
along with probably 2 pounds of my hair.
And everybody's hair.
So much hair.
To mop in here.
It is.
I've been
gross.
I never come in here unless we film, and like by the time we're done, it's very dark. And so hopefully, maybe it won't be so dark. And after today, I can.
Oh my god, I'm disgusted with.
Don't look. Look up.
Okay.
Look away.
All right.
Okay. So
once you notice it though, you just see it everywhere.
Look away. There is
Okay.
something that happened in the news that was big, and some of you might have heard about it. Caroline's going to break it down, what happened first, and then she's going to break down
Why we're
a point she brought up about it that I think is good to talk about, especially since we talked about true crime last episode.
Okay, so did I mention Gene Hackman dying on the last?
Like briefly, yeah.
Okay, so Gene Hackman, legendary actor Gene Hackman, two-time Oscar winner, 5-time nominee, Gene Hackman. The news of his death came out a week ago, but it was under mysterious circumstances, and it was very jarring because his wife also died, as well as one of their dogs was found dead in the closet. So Gene Hackman was 95 years old. So him dying was not what caused the internet to like go crazy over this. It was that his wife, who was in great health, she was only in her 60s, also was found dead alongside their dog. So, as you can imagine, the true crime
Went
experts, the armchair detectives online started just cooking up all sorts of shit. And it was very strange, right? It was like when I heard the news that Gene Hackman, his wife, and their dog died, my first thought was gas leak. Right? Yeah. And that's what Will thought as well. He's like, oh my God, I bet it was carbon monoxide.
Yeah. Can I preface this with like a little bit of backstory on you and I as crime consumers? So I am a big true crime person. Like I consume a lot of true crime.
You love to commit true crime.
I love to commit crime, all of it. It's all true. You do, but I think you are very adamant about the morality of how true crime is consumed, which I appreciate because it's something that I've thought about, but thought about more since you've talked about it. And so when I first heard my true crime brain went, oh, okay. And then suicide. Right. But because of probably the conversations we've had, I'm just let this one cook for a sec.
Yeah. The difference though between you and lots of people online is your brain might go.
I was going to say I don't put makeup on while we're talking about true crime.
You're like, so Cher body was stabbed 30 times and left on the highway.
Audio listeners, I have lip gloss in my hand.
This is how you do a winged eyeliner. All right, here's my trick. So yes, I've talked a lot about the exploitative nature of true crime, et cetera, et cetera. Not saying that you just fundamentally cannot consume true crime, but it's the way that we have to exercise sensitivity and not treat it just as like this entertainment for
there's an
our consumption. Yeah, absolutely.
Line that gets crossed a lot.
Especially when you combine that with content creation.
Yeah.
Where you have to be entertaining, right?
Yeah.
Like I understand that as someone who does political commentary on Twitch, that there is an entertainment component to it. And that's where you like can cross some lines.
Yeah, I think that like in today's age we have to like recognize that nearly everything is entertainment, but there is a level of like when you add certain elements, like if you're putting makeup on when you're talking about true crime, you're kind of watering down, these are real people who these things happen to, and a lot of the reasons why it happened to them are bigger like societal issues that if you gamify it, then all of a sudden the reason why we talk about these things is out the window. And
I would say too, not all true crime creators are as equal in their in the way that they do true crime content very salaciously and exploitatively. But if your purpose if you are a true crime content creator and you are not driving people to like a greater good, right? And all you're doing is using it as entertainment, then there's a real problem there, right? And if you're just covering like the big serial killer cases that everyone has covered a million times, rather than looking at, okay, what stories don't get any media coverage because they're not beautiful blonde white women, because they were angels who were murdered by the evil serial killer named Hatchet Bob or whatever.
Yeah. There is a huge amount of racism entwined in how true crime is covered.
Yeah. So I think that there are true crime podcasters and content creators who are bringing attention to the cases, the stories of those who are very marginalized in this country, right? Bringing attention to like, the missing and murdered Indigenous women who don't get any media coverage. Hardly any resources are dedicated to, justice. Anyway, okay. So let's get back to Gene Hackman. The difference between you and people online is that you're not going online and saying, Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa seems like a murder-suicide. If you ask me, which nobody has asked you, by the way, if you ask me, this is exactly what's going on there, is that Gene Hackman murdered his wife.
More like
hacked her. Hack woman.
Hack woman. Yeah.
Yep.
Send.
Yeah.
See, I'm not doing that probably.
Or
tweet.
that his wife hacked
man.
Yeah.
God.
Okay. Wow.
Good
we're
headline,
great at
but
that.
Not good.
Not good.
Don't do that.
So this is really, I think, quite telling of where we are in our culture when it comes to the speculation on real people's lives.
Yep.
Okay. The true crime environment.
Yeah.
And I even, when I was initially covering this story, I was like, people were like, well, do you think it's this? Do you think it's that? I'm like, I don't want to speculate.
Yeah,
but I could even feel myself fighting against
Yeah.
these impulses
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, it seems that maybe he died because then we got information that his pacemaker went out. So he had been dead at least a week based on when the pacemaker shut off, when it died.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, well, maybe he died and then she didn't want to live without him type of thing.
Surely, yeah.
But that's not something we should be doing, right?
Right.
And
it's mysterious and people get excited by
it's mysterious
mystery.
and you're trying to find answers.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We're always trying to search for when something is unknown, when something is strange and bizarre, we seek truth. We seek answers.
Right.
So if we had just waited, if the people of the internet had just waited,
which is crazy because they're usually very good at that.
they're usually so good at waiting. Then the information that came out, I think this was maybe 2 days ago, would have clarified the situation. But the thing is that even with the new information, there's still people who are like, no, nah, it is what I say. It is what I said it is. Because once you put your opinion out there, especially when people state their opinions as fact, that's it, right? There's no
one thing
I
was going to say this earlier and I forgot. That's a big green or red light when it comes to people who cover true crime is if somebody makes a YouTube video or whatever, and somebody in the comments maybe will try to clarify, hey, by the way, you're wrong about this. I think Rotten Mango's really good about this. I see her regularly correct herself. Like if you watch her old videos versus like her new videos, and she also is very like, please correct me if I whatever. Some true crime people will be like, next case.
They'll just and this isn't just true crime. This goes for
news.
This goes for a lot of people who give wrong information. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like I would much rather report on something once and be correct than report on something like twice and then be like, okay, well actually, so that's why it's like you just wait 2 seconds. Like wait until like the actual stuff comes out. So
okay. What happened is that there was an autopsy done on Betsy Arakawa, and what was discovered is that she died from something called hantavirus. So hantavirus is pretty rare, but it's not one of those like 1 in 10 million type of things. It's pretty rare, but it still happens, especially in places like New Mexico.
Oh,
I believe
okay.
Betsy is the first of this year to die from hantavirus. But the scary thing about it, so it is a virus that you get when you come into contact with rodents or their urine or feces.
Okay. So like mice maybe?
Mice,
or,
rats,
Okay.
they carry this virus.
Okay.
And let's say you're cleaning the attic, okay?
Right.
And there's like all this rat poop and urine everywhere.
Yeah, they do that.
If you don't take the proper precautions, then you may inhale the
okay. So you don't have to like wipe. I put my whole fist in my mouth. Okay.
No. You don't have to like lick the urine off the ground.
Which I do that, so that's good to know.
And so it doesn't spread between people. It's rodent to person. But the scary thing about it is that it is very deadly.
Oh.
So I believe the specific hantavirus infection that she died from, like that one has a 50 to 60% death rate.
Is it pretty quick or?
It is very fast.
Okay.
So there is no specific treatment or cure, but if you catch it early and you get the proper medical attention, then it will increase your chances of survival.
Surely, yeah.
But it rapidly progresses.
Yeah. And she was
becomes
older.
life-threatening.
60s, right?
She was in her 60s,
Yeah.
but she was in really good shape. I mean, she was his caregiver.
Sure, yeah.
So he was ailing. He was very old, but she was in pretty perfect health. So it's not a matter of that she was in her 60s. It's that she had no idea she had contracted this.
Right.
And so it was too late to like.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're somebody else's caretaker, you're so much less likely to admit maybe you don't feel good.
Yeah. Well, her care was so focused on him.
Right.
So in 2023, there were 7 cases confirmed. In 2024, there were another 7 cases confirmed. And there have been 52 reported deaths in New Mexico between 1975 and 2023. So like I said, it is not a common virus. It's not like the common cold, right?
But it's scary.
But it is very scary because it moves very fast and the outcome of death is very high.
Yeah, and also, I mean, how often do you go into your attic and think, well, this is, I just breathe.
I know. And symptoms appear 1 to 8 weeks after exposure. So think about this, okay? You clean your attic, you're exposed to feces and urine that contains the hantavirus. 2 months later, you start showing symptoms.
You don't even think
you have no ideas from that.
You're like, what did I eat? Who was I around?
Symptoms include coughing, shortness of breath, and tightness in the lung. Tightness in the chest as the lungs fill with fluid. It's horrifying.
Oh, that's terrifying.
About a third of people who develop respiratory symptoms from the disease can die. Despite years of research, there's still a lot that's unknown, that's unanswered. Why is it mild for some people and for others it's incredibly severe? How do you develop antibodies? So researchers are working on they're working on trying to answer these questions, trying to develop a treatment, but it's a mysterious illness. So it really only added to the mystery overall of Gene Hackman and his wife's deaths. So anyway, now what they have come to determine in putting together the timeline is that she died from hantavirus and Gene lived, they believe, about another week, which is just it's so tragic too, because he had Alzheimer's. And so the authorities were saying that it's very likely in his final days, he was confused, that he didn't know what was going on. The dog had recently had a procedure done, which is why it was in its crate. And so Gene, who's very old and who had Alzheimer's, he wouldn't have known.
No, that routine
to
of
care for
caring
the dog.
for the dog.
She did everything.
Yeah,
really. And it's just it is.
So she died
it's really
from
sad.
She died from the hantavirus. He died from starvation.
He died from they believe hypertensive and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease.
Okay. And how did that happen?
So he had a pacemaker because
Okay.
he already had heart issues.
Okay.
And anyway, so yes, she died, and then he lived about another week, and
Okay.
then he
he probably had
he died of
meds
heart
that
disease.
she was helping him take and just
Yeah.
all when you're that old, you are in a routine, and when somebody's helping you maintain that routine, I mean, you see it all the time where it's like you drop one or two pieces of that routine when he's in the health condition he's in.
Yeah.
And it's over.
And her last known interactions were on February 11th. She had a short email exchange with her massage therapist, and then she later went to Sprouts Farmers Market, a CVS pharmacy, and a dog food store. She got back around 5:15 p.m., and then after that, there was no other activity, and there were unopened emails on her computer from that same day, so they believe that she died. That maybe she had been feeling sick, like a little fluish, went
Took a nap.
to CVS, went to get some meds, came back. And that's how, right? Like that's how terrifying hantavirus is, that this is a disease that a lot of people don't really know about.
Yeah.
And how scary that like she was, she had interactions from that day
Yeah, she went from being able to get in her car, drive somewhere
to
dying.
dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like she might have felt like shit doing that, but it was good enough that she wasn't like, I gotta call somebody to go get me meds.
Yeah, and it's just really just so grim. There were no signs that he was communicating with anyone. They didn't find any food in his stomach, which means that he hadn't eaten. So it's awful regardless of who you are. Right? Like that's just a terrible way to spend your final days. But I think especially Gene Hackman, where Gene to a lot of people was just, he was this incredible actor, somebody who is larger than life because we know him from our screens, right? From the movies. And so like just kind of putting that image of that memory of Gene Hackman with how he died and like how his final days were spent.
It's an uncanny experience, and I feel like a lot of people, it happens to them with their family members or whatever. Seeing somebody that you think about in a certain way in a frail state, it can be really like disarming. That was like the biggest thing I experienced with my dad when he had his stroke was like he was doing very well to get better, and like my mom is just like a trooper and did everything, but I think that was the thing that disarmed me the most, was not even necessarily the stroke itself, but I was like watching my dad, who's like the toughest guy.
Yeah,
he's like the tough guy, kind of small for a little bit.
Yeah, I think one thing that anyone with parents, which is most people, where you are seeing your parents age. Yeah. Right. And I think the first thing that happens in our lives is we realize our parents are not infallible. Like they are fallible people, that they make mistakes, that they are not perfect. And then you watch them age. Right. And you see their health start to fail. You see things that
they like mortalize in front of you.
Yes, they do.
Because when you're younger, and I want to say not everybody experiences this because everybody has different relationships with their parents, but for me, and I think you, like your parents are like gods when you're a kid almost. You're like they when they say something is a certain way, you're like, okay, that's sure. And then you think it's like they just are, I don't know. It's like they're your parents and they've got it figured out and they do things a certain way. And then as you get older and kind of as you start to become like peers with your parents almost, you start to see them have human experiences that you're like, okay, like you don't know how to handle this. Interesting. Like, and you start to see them kind of like mortalize in front of you. And it's uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I have a similar experience like when you saw your dad after his stroke. I remember when my dad had a heart attack, and so he had to have surgery, and he has a bunch of stents put in his heart. I remember we went to the hospital to see him, and he was under anesthesia still, or so he was in his hospital bed and he was not awake. And I remember the same thing where he looked really small and he looked very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think I was a teenager. Yeah. So it was one of the first times that I remember looking at my dad and realizing that he is a mortal human being, right? That he is, that he could die.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel very lucky to still have both my parents and that I have a good relationship with my parents. So I don't know. I just, the other thing too that was really bothering me about what I was seeing people say online was they were saying, where were his kids?
Oh yeah.
Where a lot of people who were they don't know the Hackman family. They don't know the interpersonal relationships here.
Sure.
They don't know anything.
Yeah.
They know Gene Hackman because they've watched him in the movies, right? Just like all of us, okay? And how many people just, when something like this happens involving public figures, usually celebrities, that there is like this assumption in a way that is so it's so nasty. Like just the things that people are assuming that are so nasty. And I'm like, you have no idea what was happening.
Yeah. Their dynamic is different, and they might have a very healthy family relationship that they just don't talk for weeks.
Yeah.
Like I don't talk to my parents every day. I might not talk to my mom for like a week and a half. Like,
but again, you know what this impulse is? It's to find someone to blame.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
So once we found out it wasn't murder suicide, okay, or it wasn't,
must be something diabolical.
Yes. Or it wasn't that he died and then she couldn't go on without him.
Yeah.
It's still, you're like, okay, I need something concrete here.
They need to zone in on somebody.
Like, I just gotta say something,
Yeah.
right? I gotta be angry here. I need to direct this. I need to find the villain of the story, basically.
That's a thing I see a lot where like it is really hard to accept this. I don't know why as people we want to do this, but acknowledging that sometimes just a really terrible thing happens and nobody's necessarily at fault. It just sucks.
Yeah.
And it's like with this situation, like that just really is sad and it sucks. And it's, who the fuck knows they're going to go up to their attic and get like a virus from the air. Like she couldn't have prevented that.
Yeah, or like who knows how she contracted it or like how long ago she contracted it. It was not something that a single person would have been like, you know what this story seems like? It seems as if hantavirus is involved. No, of course not. Yeah. As I'm doing my detective work here.
There's a crime that's been committed. Yeah.
But yeah, it is that need to make sense of things, but also in a way that's like so aggressive.
I think it almost, like if you want to be positive, it maybe almost comes from a place of good of people want to make sense of things. Therefore, end up.
Yeah, I understand why people are attracted to conspiracy theories, right?
Surely.
Like, why do people fall down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole?
Right.
It comes from a sense of loss of control, right?
Yeah.
It comes from a reacting to this world and to, a lot of the pain that the existence of life brings. Yeah. And, the systems of control that are so oppressive, and people's just struggling under these life conditions, under these economic, the economic burdens and et cetera. And so they need something to grab onto. They need something that's going to give them hope, that's going to make sense of things. I just covered this the other night on stream where I was talking about like how has the anti-vaccine movement, and specifically that vaccines cause autism, how has that gone from like the fringe to mainstream? Why are more and more
Right.
people like, where did that even come from?
Surely.
And what it comes from is a lot of parents who, first of all, view autism as this bad thing, right?
Yeah, they're like,
It's
worst
not,
case
and it's not
scenario.
entirely their fault.
Yeah.
It's because of the existing social stigma of autism. It's the way that this country does not care for disabled people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where like if you are autistic, especially if you are autistic in the way that you need
Like
round the clock
life
care,
yeah.
right? You need immense support. That it is very expensive, right? Your government is not providing that. This world is not built to support you. So I get why, okay, then the result is an autistic child. That is a huge hindrance, right? This is a huge obstacle. Like, this is bad. It's bad that my child is atypical, which I do not believe that, but I'm
Right.
explaining the
From
like
their
social
POV.
circumstances. So what drives them then to believe that their child's autism was caused by the vaccine is that gives them hope. Because they're like, okay, if vaccines cause autism, then no vaccine,
No autism.
then no autism.
Right. It's like they're trying to fix something.
Yes.
But you're not going to fix something. You're making another problem.
But that's that like helplessness
Yeah.
that is then preyed upon by real bad actors
Yeah.
who are looking to manipulate the masses for their own gain, right? There's a lot of people who make a lot of money off of
Yeah.
preaching about how vaccines cause autism.
Nazi Barbies.
Nazi Barbies, RFK Jr., the literal Secretary of Health and Human Services. I can't tell you how many people I know, like in my personal life, who are buying his books, who like
Yeah.
are reading, who they are getting their health and science news from that motherfucker. Okay? Like the guy who's so sick in the head that he like he finds dead animals and puts them in his trunk.
You know what I watched the other day? You're never going to guess. You
What
will
did you
never
wa-
guess.
Okay, wait, let me try.
No,
What did you watch?
can't.
Just let me try.
Okay.
What did you watch the other day?
I'm about to send you for a wild left card.
Can I have a hint? A little direction.
John F. Kennedy.
Okay.
Still won't help you.
I
I can actually tell you. I can tell you the murder of John F. Kennedy, and you still aren't.
And
Gonna
I
know.
still wouldn't know.
No.
I don't know.
I on YouTube stumbled upon a video that had like almost 400,000 views, so it wasn't niche. It was the retelling of the JFK assassination via My Little Pet Shop.
What? Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Never in a million years would have guessed that.
So yeah, it's a 20-minute long video of My Little Pet Shop. Somebody reenacted the JFK assassination with dolls.
Holy shit, there really is everything on
There's
the internet.
something for everybody.
There is every single thing.
Yeah. So I actually know quite a bit about the JFK assassination.
Oh, okay. From My Little Pet Shop. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably all accurate. Not
You
really.
watched all 20 minutes of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 55 seconds.
And 55 seconds. Uh-huh.
yeah.
What was recommended to you next?
Oh, you don't want to know.
Like
Trust
Polly
me.
Pocket doing I
There
don't
was a
know, Fred
thumbnail.
Hampton's murder by the FBI.
No, there was a thumbnail. I didn't click on it, but it said "Old man reacts to 2 girls, 1 cup."
Oh no!
And I was like, no.
And that old man was me.
And that old man, Joe Biden.
God. Oh my God. I mean, he's signed by CAA now. He's gonna be, putting
Yeah.
out content and shit. So
Rude.
hey, Jack, what's
Is
that ice cream?
Can I tell you a story?
Yes.
Wait, did you finish talking about that? Is
I
everything-
think so. Did we get everything? Did we get all the deets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Universal Studios the other day, and I do this thing. This isn't a long story, but this is a me story. I do this thing where when I park in like a parking garage or something like that, I will get out of my car and I'm so focused on going to the place that I'm going to go, I don't pay attention to where I parked. Mm-hmm. And people are always like, take a picture. And I'm like, no, that's the problem. I don't think to take a picture. If I stopped to think, I wouldn't forget, but I don't stop to think. I just get out of my car. I go. I'm like, oh, do I have my keys? Do I have my glasses? Do I have my phone?
You're just so excited.
I'm so excited to go. And it was Universal Studios. So I went to Universal Studios, left to go get Oki at the groomer, and realized I didn't know where my car was. It's a theme park. So the parking garage is huge. And it wasn't like, oh, I don't know where my car is. It's like, I have no idea. Clue. I couldn't even remember where I had entered the garage. And they have little like Jurassic Park parking or I don't know, Curious George parking or whatever. And so on my phone, it tracks the last place that I left my car, right? Because when you turn the car off, the Bluetooth disconnects and it puts a pin there. But when you're in a parking garage, you don't have any service. So I'm walking around, I'm looking at my phone, I'm trying to figure out where, but it doesn't tell me up or down. It just tells me locationally.
Yeah, you're also starting to sweat more. The panic is setting in.
I'm panicking. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to sweat. Another thing that a lot of people experience is when you've had a car for a while, you get almost like this soul bond with a car where you can only see like one little like molecule of metal behind another car and you're like, that's my car, you know? You see one little piece of it and you're like, I know that taillight.
You're like, that's her.
I don't have that yet because my car is new to me. I can be standing right in front of it and I have to look to see in the car if that's my car.
Yeah.
So if I were to walk right past it, I wouldn't know. So I'm walking through, I'm beeping my beeper, beep beep, which isn't as loud as my last car. And one of the valet guys sees me. And at this point, I can hear it beeping, but it's far away, I think. And he goes, ma'am, are you okay? And I walk up to him and I go, this is really embarrassing. I have a bad memory and I don't remember where I parked my car. And he's like, okay, how many floors up did you go?
You're like, I
don't know.
Literally no idea.
He's like, did you drive up or down? Don't know. Where did you, like, was it this side, this side? No
He's
clue.
like, ma'am, what's wrong with you?
He's like, are you okay?
The fuck is wrong with you?
There's another piece of this story. I had been drinking a Jamba Juice.
And you're going to be like, I had been drinking.
No, I had been drinking a Jamba Juice.
Spiked butterbeer.
And it was really cold. And when I drink things that are really cold, my mouth gets numb and it sounds like I'm drunk. So I'm like, I don't remember. So I'm talking to him and speaking with kind of a numb mouth, trying to tell him that I have no idea where I parked my car. I said, I don't know. I know that it said it was compact and there was a minivan next to me. And he's like, okay. So I beeped
he's
the
like,
car.
ma'am, you're under arrest.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a cop. He pulled a gun out. He like sticks his head over to listen and he's like, it's coming from downstairs. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I like find the door. I go downstairs. I get in my car. I leave. I have no memory of driving down a ramp to get to the parking garage.
Are you sure that Jamba Juice wasn't spiked?
Pretty sure. I was so embarrassed. Because it was like, I've done this before, but usually something will happen that will like
trigger your memory.
But this time I was walking through the parking garage. I was sweating, like you said. I was like, what if I'm slurring? Here? And I'm thinking like which like testaments to you. I'm thinking of people who I would be comfortable enough calling to be like, I left my car in a parking garage and I can't find it and I need to go pick my dog up.
Yeah.
Because it was like 30 minutes until the place closed.
Oh, I would have picked Oki up and been like, she's mine now.
Be like, you can't. You clearly
you
can't.
are not equipped.
Mommy's a little off the sauce.
Mommy's gonna have to go away.
She's on the Jamba right now. Mommy's walking home.
She's hitting the Jamba hard.
Yeah. And so I drove. I finally went and picked Oki up. She's pissed. She's like sitting there, just like. I did the most detective. Do you ever do a thing in your life of detective work? And I feel like this is usually. We should do a whole episode about this. Do you ever do any detective sleuthing on like an ex or something? And the moment you find something, you're like,
can I say something that I like never have really. Anytime I broke up with someone, that was it.
No, but like while you were, because I've had exes that I like have been like, I think that they're cheating.
Oh,
and then you look and you're like, gotcha.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I just got cheated on too many times. We should have a whole.
No, I was never like.
You don't have any like horror stories? Horror ex stories? I don't have too many bad
Not
ones. I don't have
really.
terrible ones.
I
but
had one ex who I was like, because I'm the type of person where when we break up, I don't have anything to do with you anymore, right? There's no hard
I'm the
feelings.
same.
I've never had a like breakups have been hard,
Yeah.
right? I had a boyfriend who moved to California, then we ended up breaking up, so it was sad. But it's never been a breakups that are breakups because of cheating or like abuse or something like that. So after a relationship ends, I'm like, yeah, it's over, it's done. Like, okay, bye, have a nice life.
I've never
have a nice
gotten back
life. Like,
together
I'm
with
not
an ex.
gonna. No, there's never getting back together, but there's also no like this person has hurt me so much
Yeah.
that now I'm having to like pick up the pieces type of thing.
Yeah.
It's all every breakup I've had has always been like, okay, like I'll never talk to you again, not because I fucking hate you.
But it's just done.
Yeah. So I just
done.
had one ex who just didn't seem to understand that. I was like, don't text me on my birthday.
No.
Don't ask me. Like, don't be like, oh, I saw this thing. How are you? I'm like, we don't talk anymore.
I've never.
We don't talk anymore.
The way you said it was exactly like that in my brain thing. I've never had a lingering breakup in my life. I've only ever, because I will see it out until it's dead. I'll see it out probably past it's dead. Until they're dead. Check on your exes, everybody. Yeah, I will almost always see it out until I'm over being done. And then when the breakup happens, it's, breakups are hard, but every breakup I've had has been very definitively done.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to like clean up the aftermath, basically.
Yeah.
But the reason I was asking about that, going back to it, is one time I parked somewhere and my phone didn't keep track of where my car was, and I was on the phone when I was walking somewhere and it was daytime. I saw a movie, and then when I got out of the movie, it was nighttime, and I realized that because I was on the phone the whole time, I did not even know. I went to Alamo Drafthouse. So it was, if you've ever been to Alamo Drafthouse in LA, it's like a downtown-y area, lots of blocks. And I parked in one of those like generic parking lots that's like just in a lot, right? So I get out of the movie and I went to see it with Nandre. Me and Nandre went to see a movie. And I get out of the parking lot and I just have this moment and I go, I don't even know where my car is at all. Like not even like north, east, south, west, 1 block, 5 blocks. I don't know.
It's also your ADHD brain does not produce good results when you've parked your car
and
somewhere.
I just was like, I don't even know where to start because it's
Yeah.
nighttime now. So I said, I need you to drive me around to help me find my car. And he was like, okay. We drove around for like 40 minutes. Just like bless him. Just driving around and then me looking for anything that looked familiar because I felt like I had like blacked out. I couldn't remember walking past anything and everything was starting to look the same and I was starting to recognize things from driving around. Finally, I had an idea. And when I had parked, the guy, instead of giving me my parking ticket, he had said, hey, take a picture of this because I keep them and you show me the picture. I was like, okay, great. So I was like, wait, and you may not know this, but this is handy information.
Okay, everybody listen up.
On an iPhone, it keeps data of where the photo was taken in your phone.
I actually do know this.
Perfect. So I had a realization, ping, and I was like, I bet I can see where on my map. Yeah. So I was like, okay, great. So I get up there. And this is where the story takes a little bit of a turn. I get up to the parking lot. We find it. I see it on the map. Non drops me off. And I go, I know that's it for sure. You can leave. My phone dies.
Ah, that's such a me thing to happen.
My phone dies. So I go up to the guy and I say, it's a silver Mazda. Like, my phone's dead, but like I can tell you the key because they have that box of keys. I was like, I could point at the key and tell you exactly what's in the car. Like, ask me for anything. I'll prove it's my car. And he was like, okay. So he opens up the box and he's looking and he's like, and I come over and I go, none of these are my keys. And he's like, okay. And so he pulls open like another thing and he's like, the key's not in here either. And so now I'm like, my phone is dead. Nandre left. this guy doesn't have the car key to my car. What do I do? And there's cockroaches on the ground, which is just a side note. And so I'm like standing there and I'm kind of just like, what do I do? And I'm just at this guy's will. And he's like, I'm going to go inside and check. I don't know, maybe they have a back room for keys at the valet. And he goes in and he like looks around. He finally, like, not even kidding you, like 10 minutes later, which is like a long time and waiting for my car, he drives my car around. And I have a charger in my car, so I get in my car and charge my car. But that is the story of the second most traumatic experience of me losing my car. I'm waiting for a third. There's gonna be a third.
You know, whenever you watch a horror film and there's always like the person who's fumbling with their keys as the killer's behind them, or they're like,
"There's 300
phone
keys.
died,"
No,
or like,
it's not this one.
Or you
No,
know,
it's not this
they're
one.
like, "Where's my car?
Yeah,
where's my car?" You're like, "The killer's right there."
Yeah,
that
that's
is
me.
you.
I know.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Sitcom Sam.
You are like first girl killed.
Mm-hmm.
You would think you're final girl.
No. I'm not even first girl. I'm girl before title card.
Oh, you're cold open girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think I am? Now, obviously, I am part woman of color. So historically, I would not last.
You would, right.
But things have changed a little bit. So
yeah,
I could be, you see me and you're like, that is definitely going to be the final girl. Because she's Asian.
You know what you are? You are smart character who, like, at the beginning, you come up with, like, a idea that you go, oh, she's going to be final girl, duh. And then you die in, like, a really weird one. That's
you know
like,
what it is? I make it, like, 3/4 of the way through where we're finally implementing my very smart idea, right? Like, I'm, genius brain. Yeah. And we're about to be saved and then, like, I'm killed.
Yes, you die and it's like unexpected, not your fault. And then the person that you're with gets to be final girl, but they didn't really deserve it because you were the one that came up with the plan the whole time. Yeah. And then the end shot is like your funeral. And you're like at the poster.
I always think about like what picture I would use.
For your funeral?
Yeah.
Do you have one?
Well, I'm like, I feel like I should pick it out so that they don't end up, whoever's they. Okay. Whoever's doing my funeral doesn't pick a horrible photo.
So many times because there's so many times that they will have like somebody on the news passed away.
And you're like,
and I'll be like in the kindest.
Yeah. You're like, was that really the best photo they could use?
Like, like the person is maybe a peer and you will like see like other photos of them and you'll be like.
Right. But then it's like, are they going to use one of my headshots? Are they going to use my like, here's my tough cop look?
Like, imagine you're like, yeah, exactly. They just take a screenshot.
Or like, here's my, I could play a college age kid, like fake glasses on braid, like.
They take your IMDb photo. It's like,
here's my, sexy, chic look.
Could be.
But I don't know.
What's an overall rule that we can give to families where if we in our untimely
passing, I feel like, okay, they would probably want to pick a smiling photo, right? This whole, she was beautiful in life and an angel in death, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, big smile where everyone just feels even more sad. I don't really smile a ton. So
I don't really smile.
This is really gonna. I don't do teeth smile.
If you're a Twitter user, can you tweet us which photo of us you think is our best?
It's gonna cut down on.
We'll know.
Like I'm looking at I'm pulling up my Instagram. All right. I guess.
Wait, can I pick one for you and you pick one for me from each of our Instagrams?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
Here's our missing, right? It's either missing or dead. Funeral, but also, if it's on the news, if you go missing, what picture are they using?
Right. You have many more photos than I do, I think. Okay. So I wanted to really encapsulate. So you already laughed.
I'm just laughing, imagining like I show up to your funeral.
This.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, are we doing serious though?
Maybe.
Well, okay.
This is a photo from your Instagram.
Let me hold on.
Why does your phone feel big? Is your phone bigger than mine?
It's bigger than yours, yeah. It's bigger than yours. Oh, there's one with us. Oh, what if I did this one with all four of us?
That's the day we met.
This is the day we met. That would be cute. At your funeral, if we do.
But you crop me out a little bit. Yeah, like that. Imagine.
Oh my God. I'm like, I just really, it's a nice smiling photo. You know, actually, this is one that you could use for my funeral.
Yeah.
I'm smiling.
Yeah.
It's a nice, you know.
That photo is a good photo of you, but it also kind of doesn't look like you, but it also does. Does that make sense?
It's because my hair is curled and I never curl my hair and I'm also smiling and I don't smile.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's fair. I don't really smile for photos ananymore.
Okay, I know which one I'm choosing.
Okay.
Do you want to go?
Yeah.
First.
The first thing I'm noticing is that this photo, I'm pretty sure I remember this party that this was taken at, and I can't believe it's as long ago as it was. I think we're gonna go with this one.
Great.
Holier Than Thou.
Okay, because this is mine.
That's the photo Twitch always uses when I'm in events.
I know, that's why it's
Twitch,
so
I'm
funny.
calling you out. When I am in events, they'll say, "Can you send us a photo of you?" And I have, and out of, like, it's been twice now that they use that photo.
It's so cute.
My second option, which
It's
I'm now
so
realizing
cute.
should have been my first option, was, where was it?
Okay. I also think like this one, which is so Instagram girly,
It
right?
is Instagram girly.
Like your face is half. It's half your face. Like, can you
hate
imagine
my
showing up
photos.
to your funeral and it's just this giant photo right by, you know,
Cropped weird.
yeah.
I lost
on like
the
a
one.
stand right by the
this one maybe for you. Which is just a picture
that's
of
just Betty White.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People, what if they showed at the funeral and they're like,
This is not.
is that Betty White?
Like, I don't know. It's on her Instagram. It's been an old photo. Whatever. I hate all of my Instagram photos as soon as I post them. I'm one
as
of-
soon as you post them.
retroactively, like, it takes very little time. You took that.
I did. I
good
love this photo. My girlies.
I don't take photos very often. In fact, I will be so honest. Most of my photos that I look good in because I've dressed up are with you, because you'll say, "Can we take a photo?"
Yes.
And I say, "Yeah," and then that's the photo I have, because I don't take photos. I never do.
I take photos. I just don't post them.
Yeah.
I have so many pictures on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of, I don't know. Once I became a content creator, once it was like my job of doing content, I stopped posting as much.
I hate taking photos of me just because I think I'm critical. I'm not. I would say I have a healthy amount of self-confidence. Like, as me as a person, like me as like a woman, like I have a healthy amount of self-confidence. I just don't get as much value out of like posting selfies because I get like hypercritical, and then I go, well, do I feel like I'm full of myself if I post this? Do I feel like maybe I don't look good. Maybe I need to like sit on this one for a while. Like, maybe that pose is very like Tumblr core. I always think I'm like millennial coded every time I go to post photo.
Well, I definitely would have, if I was experiencing a lot of hatred at a particular time on the internet, I wouldn't want to post photos.
Yeah.
One, because if anyone was in my pictures, I didn't want to open them up to harassment, because they always like, the mob always goes, they'll eventually tire, but they'll pick whatever your recent stuff is. So if there's a tweet, you know, the comments will be filled, even if that was before whatever the latest thing is.
Right.
They'll go to the latest shit. And you notice that too, like with celebrities, when they die, people will go to, like, if you click on their recent photos, the comments will all be filled with stuff. Or not even just when they die. If like some scandal erupts, then you'll go to that celebrity's Instagram and the comments are just filled with.
I'll do that when you see a bit of like celebrity or influencer news and you're like, I'm not really sure what's going on here, but I know something's going on. I'll just go to their Instagram and read the comments on the most recent, and then I'll usually
you'll be like,
okay, I know what's going on. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to do our favorite segment?
This is what I have to let you know about today. I'm going to tell you about Athol Fugard. So Athol Fugard was a South African playwright. He was also an actor and a director, but he was most known for his prolific playwriting. He died, so that's why I'm talking about him. He was 92 years old, and he is widely considered to be South Africa's greatest playwright. But the reason I'm talking about him, and that a lot of tributes are now pouring into him, about him, is because he was a writer who wrote about South Africa's apartheid. So he lived through the rise and the fall of apartheid in South Africa, and his writing
Can you
was
explain what that is?
What is that apartheid? Okay,
Yes.
so apartheid is a racial system of segregation. So it is legal segregation per the structures, per the laws of the state that is perpetrating it.
So is segregation just kind of the term for it, but not pertaining to the legality of it?
So what's specific about it is that it's racial segregation. So in South Africa, during the 4 decades of apartheid in South Africa, white South Africans had rights and were superior to black South Africans. So there was racial segregation, and it is institutionalized segregation. So the laws of the
segregation
state
isn't necessarily racially. Segregation is just the word for like splitting of.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
So what's specific to apartheid is that it is racial segregation.
Got it.
And it is propped up by the government, by the laws that govern that country. So back to Athol Fugard. Athol Fugard wrote during the he wrote a lot of plays during the decades of apartheid in South Africa. And he, really critically examined the effects of apartheid on South African life, especially, blacks in South Africa, and just how crushing to live under a system like that. But he also, as a white South African, recognized his privilege, right? And sought to really scrutinize his own identity and role as a white South African living during apartheid. But his work was considered subversive by the government, and so he was at many times his productions were illegal. He had his passport taken. He was targeted because of his political dissidence. And yet, he never backed down because he was a dramatist. He was a playwright who really his work is that of drama, who understood that art, when it is totally honest, when it is reflective of life and the current realities of life, has the potential to influence people, to change hearts and minds. And so through his work, he sought to show the human, the humanity, our shared humanity, and to show not just white audiences what the effects of South Africa's apartheid has on the people who live under it. And it was important for white audiences to see this, international white audiences, but for all people who watched his plays to see the humanity of the people whose stories that he was bringing to life. So he was one of the rare non-American and non-British playwrights who was very successful in the US. And his work was very vital in shining a global spotlight on apartheid in South Africa, because people were seeing his plays on stage, they were reading his work, and it was exposing them to these stories of people who were living under this system. And he wasn't heavy-handed in that he would have a character get on stage and be like, apartheid, what is apartheid and why is it bad? It was not preachy in that way. It was not explicitly pushing a political agenda through having these diatribes. But it was like his work existed in this space of apartheid. So Death of a Salesman, which is a very, very famous play, similarly exists in this world where capitalism is the reality, right? So the characters in this play and the themes in this play all are reflective of that reality. So in the same way, his works were very personal. It was like a mixing of the political and the personal. So they were these human stories, and he focused on really, he had very small casts. It was not fancy set pieces and everything. It was really about the relationship between the actor and the stage. And at its core were these human stories, because he believed that that was the most effective way to challenge something like the system of apartheid, was to really have human beings at its core. And because there were no drama schools for Black Africans, it was really one of the only spaces where Black actors in South Africa were able to train, were able to perform. And so that was another reason that he was a target, that his plays were made illegal. And through these collaborations, he really brought to life so many stories of, they were fictionalized, but they were based in the reality of living under apartheid. And he was also one of those playwrights who understood how important it was to mentor and inspire young playwrights, like emerging playwrights. Sometimes, when you get mainstream, when you have, when you've become a big name in the art world, you're really busy with your stuff, and you're not, like, if you're not teaching at a university, or if you're not in some capacity where like you are coming into contact with young artists, not everybody was Athol Fugard, in the respect that he believed so much in the importance of mentoring young playwrights. Like, he would always invite them to come to set. He would always offer them, advice, and was very inspirational to lots and lots of not just playwrights, but like just artists in general. So he died, and I'm looking at Oki. Yes, Oki, I know. He died, and I've just been listening to like old interviews with him, and then others who worked with him or who knew his work, who were talking about him. And really the shared sentiment is that he was a guy who cared very deeply about human life and bringing human stories to the stage. And the reason I'm bringing him up is not just because he was so widely acclaimed, but because in this current environment, right, we're living through some scary times,
some world events,
and there is a threat towards the arts and all those who work in the arts, right? And it's a threat to artists that if you are politically subversive in your work, right? If you are challenging the system, if you are challenging the the power players, that like we will come for you. And I think it's a reminder that for artists who, not every artist has to be political in their work, but what Athol believed was, if you are creating art in this current moment, then how can it not be political?
Yeah, everything's political.
And this is the reason why he stayed in South Africa, because he felt like, if I am telling these stories of people in South Africa, then I should be in this place, right? And it was also his home, so he felt a lot of love for it, while also deeply, deeply opposing the racial segregation. But he was like, I don't want anybody to dictate my political agenda, but I understand that in order to tell these stories that are reflective of this society that we are living in, then it cannot not be political, right? Like, it cannot not be challenging the current politics. And so to wrap it up, I wouldn't even call it like a plea, but just a reminder or a call to action for playwrights, for artists, to really meet this moment in their art, right? To take from the legacy, the courage, the spirit of someone like Athol Fugard, and to be uncompromisingly honest and seek the personal through the political in their work.
Also, look how fucking cool he looks in this photo.
Oh, he's rad. Yeah.
I don't know if
he was rad.
That, but
he was also apparently just a really kind human being, right? Like this was a guy who
I was looking at photos of him.
This was a guy who didn't write because he wanted to, like, I don't know, appease his white guilt or be any type of white savior, but because he cared so deeply about human beings, and he cared very deeply about things like, dismantling apartheid.
Does he look like Robert Pattinson in this photo? No.
I could see Robert Pattinson playing him in a film.
Robert Pattinson, okay, we'll talk about this, I'm sure, a lot in a couple weeks when we talk about Mickey 17 on the Patreon, which you saw. You have thoughts. I haven't seen it yet.
We're not going to get into it. To be continued.
For 30 seconds TLDR of what I was talking about the other day, I think that it's felt like a slow burn, but I think that we're about to be in like a good era of Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
I feel like he's finally breaking out of Twilight. Like, people don't think of him as Edward Cullen anymore.
I think that's been, I mean, his work with like the Safdie brothers.
But for normies. I think that because like film people, I think Remember Me era, like even though that wasn't before like Twilight was over, I think that film people have seen him breaking out, but for normies, I think that normies are seeing him as Robert Pattinson because he's just done so many like different things, and I think that I feel like Robert Pattinson's going to be an older Hollywood guy that is like, yeah.
Bong Joon-ho was asked Team Edward or Team Jacob, and he said Team Edward, of course.
Oh, interesting.
He's on his boy.
You know who
He's
I'm
on his boy's
team?
side.
Bella's dad.
I know.
Yeah.
And the older I get, I'm Team Carlton.
Carlton?
Wait, what's his
Carlisle?
name? Carlisle. Carlton. I was like, that's not right. That's not correct. Anywho, okay, that is my let me know. This is the person that I wanted to honor, even just for 5 minutes, their life and their legacy, and to tell you about it. So what do you have for me?
Mine, I would like to honor a well-beloved franchise.
Oh?
Probably billion-dollar franchise.
Okay.
Have you heard of
Paw Patrol?
No. ACAB includes Paw Patrol, though.
It does.
No. Pokemon. Can I tell you something?
Pokemon!
Can I tell you something that I learned before this story? So this is away from this story.
Okay.
Separate this from the story I'm about to tell. The word paraphernalia doesn't always have to do with porn.
Yeah. Yeah. You know that?
I thought paraphernalia always had to do with porn. It turns out it's just stuff from things. Like, it could be paraphernalia of anything.
Yeah.
It could be gardening paraphernalia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also probably gardening porn.
Surely.
Let's not look into that.
All right. On Sunday, this is not yesterday, but last Sunday.
Okay.
A flamin' hot Cheeto shaped like the Pokemon Charizard.
I saw this.
You saw this? Sold
It's
at an
insane.
auction. Do you remember how much it sold for? I don't know. I'm covering my screen. You can't see it.
$7.8 million?
No, not even. It's much lower than that.
Oh, sorry. $700,000.
No, blowing it out of the water.
$178,000.
87,000.
There's a 7. I knew there was a 7.
Yep, 87,000.
Okay, $7.8 million is insane. I
Close
don't even
enough.
know why. Yeah, you know what? That's
Can you
about it.
imagine?
Yeah, but nothing is worse than
You know
when
what's
like
crazy,
something is
though?
an outrageous price and you're like, guess how much it was, and then someone guesses something
Too
where you're
high.
like,
You're like, well, that wasn't
Okay.
even close to that. Nicknamed Cheetozard, the viral fire-breathing creature-shaped snack was sold through Golden, don't care, an online auction house specializing in trading cards, collectibles, and other memorabilia. The Cheetozard is a 3-inch long flamin' hot, which, can I just say, spicy Cheetos are one of my favorite snacks. I would have
so
eaten.
good.
I would have
I
gone.
will take the ulcers
Oh, that one looks like Charizard, and then
then eaten it. Question. And didn't this happen before? Wasn't there like another Pokemon or something Cheeto that
there's like a
sold?
Jesus or something. There's always a Jesus.
There's always a Jesus. Why?
Okay. So, do you know a whole lot about the Pokemon card market? Because
Because Will is deep. It's like his gambling.
Yeah. It gets really cutthroat in there. So this, I think, just because it feeds into that. Do you want to see it? Did you see a picture of it?
Yeah.
This is it.
Yep.
$87,000.
Can I tell you that if I saw that hot Cheeto, I wouldn't even know that looked like Charizard? Where you're like, I would have gone, that looks like Charizard, and
It's
then
kind
eaten
of
it.
like-
I wouldn't have even known.
Like,
Who knows how many Pokemon shaped? I have eaten a lot of hot Cheetos.
yeah.
So many.
Can I tell you what I do with hot Cheetos?
Suck off all the.
Have you ever eaten hot Cheetos with chopsticks?
No.
First of all, it kind of ruins the experience of all of the dust collecting on your
being
fingers. But then, if you're like on your computer, just saying, kind of a fun little side note. But here's what I do. It's not the chopsticks thing. I like spicy Cheetos. However, when they're a tiny bit stale, I like them more.
Sam, no, that's gross.
So what I do
wrong with you?
is if I open the
What's
bag
wrong with
and I
you?
leave it open for like a couple hours, they harden up just enough that they're not so fluffy.
Wait, harden or no? They're stale.
No, but they because when you buy them, they're really fluffy.
Yeah.
Cheetos. But then as they turn a little bit stale, they get like a little bit more hard.
Okay.
And I like it
All
better.
Right. That's more reasonable.
I don't leave them open for like a week.
Yeah.
I leave them open for like an hour to 24 hours.
Okay.
And then
you go for it.
they're so much better when they're like a little bit more stale. So that's what I do.
You have all these weird little food picadillos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay, this Charizard sells for $87,000.
Yep.
What does one do with it? Then? Do you frame it?
I don't know. Like, I need to know, like, what...
Who has that money?
For that.
Who?
Like, I have been on record saying if I had fuck you money, like that kind of money, I would probably buy some things from various franchises or games that I enjoy that were stupid, right? Like, I would buy... I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff from video games, like maybe like a model of something from a game that I love that it's like, nobody needs to have that, but I'm going to buy it anyways. That is too far. Does it say? I'm going to see if anybody bought it. I know somebody bought it.
I think no matter how much money you have, that's stupid as fuck.
It says bidding for the item started at $250 on February 10th. 80. And 60 bids later, the winning bid of $72,000 was made on Sunday. And then the extra $15,000 is the buyer's premium fee. 22% buyer's fee.
What?
That's the auction house's fee.
So what's to stop? Okay, let's say I work in a hot Cheetos factory.
Yeah.
Okay. What's to stop me from making a Pikachu hot Cheeto?
You know what would be a crazy turn of events? Cheetos does a crossover with Pokemon to make Pokemon shaped Cheetos.
Yeah, but then it removes the market for these special,
or they make the market.
True.
Imagine you just go, who's that Pokemon?
Okay, seriously, if I'm somebody though if I have the opportunity and the ability to, why am I not cranking out toast that looks like Jesus, right?
I don't know.
Why am I not? Because people online are spending, you've got Meemaw somewhere where if she sees the Virgin Mary,
that could be this could have happened.
Right.
Somebody
she'll spend all her money.
If they go up the line, then maybe that person's cousin's best friend from college works at the Cheeto factory and said, "Hey, I made you a gift. There you go."
Yeah. That should be our next scam.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how I say next scam, like we've
done one before. Well, you'd never know because we scammed you. That's the whole point.
That's right.
If we told you that it was, then that's what it was.
$87,000. That's crazy. Like, I try to think about if I had fuck you money. Okay. Aside from buying things like, I don't know.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. Say you have fuck you money. So you get to make one purchase right now that can't be justified as something you need at all. So if you pick something and it's too like, well, yeah, I'll just say, no, pick something else. Has to be something that's just nobody ever needs that. And let's say you have $1 million to spend on it.
$1 million.
Yeah, you can buy anything, but it can't be something you need. It has to be something that's stupid. Just like, okay.
I mean, it'd probably be something film related.
Okay.
Something in like, okay, this is the original screenplay.
Yeah.
Like Ted Nivison.
Mm-hmm.
Ted is very deep in these film auctions. Okay.
So he loves auctions.
He loves them. He loves an auction. And he like every time I see him.
He goes,
look what I got at this auction.
Yes.
So he'll send me links and stuff and be like, you would love this. I'm like, Ted, I can't spend $14,000. I cannot spend $14,000 on the original screenplay for The Thing as much as I would love to.
His house, though, I will say, if you go into his house, like it's very, he takes a lot of pride in the little like knickknacks on the walls. Mm-hmm. So if you walk in his house, he'll be like, that's from The Thing, that's from this, and I got this from this website and this, you know.
So I think it would probably be something in that world, or like, I don't know. I mean, stuff, things from a film set, right? Like props.
Mine probably
like
would be that too, to be honest. Like,
yeah,
because video game stuff is virtual, so I could be like, oh, I want like I want a custom made remake of Sly Cooper's Kane, or I want a custom. You know, what would be cool. One of the portals from Spyro, like in my yard. Like if I imagine if I had fuck you money, I'd have a yard, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be like one of the portals from Spyro, like in my yard. That would be pretty cool. But the movie thing would also be cool. Like something from a movie would be awesome. Life-size replica
like
of
one
the
of
Iron
the
Giant.
one of the original Scream masks that they used.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that would be like for sale, but stuff like that, right? Where do you know who Jessica Nigri is? She's a cosplayer.
Yes. I bet she's got cool stuff.
She's a huge nerd. Okay.
Yeah.
Super duper nerd. And she does quite well. She's got, the money to spend on the type of things that we're describing. Her house, every room of her house is a different theme. So she has one house that's all like medieval.
One room?
One house.
I was like, damn, okay.
She's got one house. There's one room in her house that I know is like specifically medieval themed. So like full suits of armor.
And she does the cosplay
stuff
so
like
she's
that.
Got the cool stuff.
She's really creative.
I have a nice story
but it's
about
so
her.
cool, right? It's so cool that she has built
People love
each
stuff
room
like that.
in her house tailored to her, these things that she's so passionate about. And she has the funds to buy these really, really cool, unique,
knickknacks,
just awesome shit.
Things that bring you joy. Yeah. When we went to, this was Cutie and Maya's gala for good, like a couple of years ago, which is like sickening that was like it was like
crazy.
It's like 2 years ago almost. There was a photo booth there that was like pretty nice, and we were dressed up like really fancy and stuff. And I don't pose well. I don't know how to pose. I'm really bad at posing, especially if it's like a pose in front of this and you look really nice and there's a professional camera. Like I just immediately don't. I'm like,
you're like, why? Where did these hands come from?
And so I was posing in my dress, and I was like kind of doing the same pose that I always do, and I didn't know what to do. And I kind of was like looking, and I locked eyes with her, and I had never met her. She didn't know me. I didn't know her. We hadn't been introduced. I locked eyes with her, and there's a certain kind of woman who is they can identify when another woman needs help immediately. And she saw it, and she like kind of held my gaze, and I said, help. And
SOS.
And she came over like across the room, and she was like, are you okay? And I said, I don't know how to pose.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay. And so she was like, all right, so mimic me. She was like, right here, you're going to do this and then this. And that photo that I have from that is still like one of the better photos I have.
She's
Because
awesome.
she was like, okay, do this. Okay, chin. Okay, here. And I was like,
here. Yeah.
And I don't know if I've seen her since then, but that's my only interaction, which is great.
She was your guardian angel.
She was. I need that, because I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, love her. So anyway, that's all we got.
That's all we got. Quick announcement. Check our Let Me Know Twitter account, because we are going to go ghost hunting at the end of this month.
Yeah. Also,
very fun.
be following the Twitter account for for fun clips,
Just for funsies.
for moments, for any updates.
Tag us and stuff.
Tag us. Yeah, we want to
make
see those
memes,
tags.
Make fan edits. I don't know, do all the stuff. But we're going to be going, our friend Jordan goes by Detoon. He has this really cool thing that he does. It's called Paranormal Detour, where he takes creators out and has all of the gadgets, has all of the cameras, and we walk through
Streamer
places.
Award nominated.
Streamer Award nominated. And so he's going to take us into a haunted location, and we're going to go ghost hunting, and it's going to be live streamed.
By the way, I'm bringing Carol.
I was going to tell you to bring Carol.
I'm going to bring Carol.
You should bring Carol.
I'm going to put her in a baby backpack.
You should.
Carry her around.
Oh, that's funny. You could put her.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
I'm gonna
funny.
bring her.
So Carol will be there.
Yeah.
So make sure
Carol's
to tune
coming.
in to our Twitter account. We will be posting where to watch that. After the ghost hunting event we do with Jordan, Jordan is going to come on to our Patreon, and he's going to bring like the top clips of like weird spooky things that happened. And then we're going to sit together and kind of like, did you see that? Like go over it. So we will let you guys know when that happens, but that is definitely going to be something you're going to want to watch with us on the Patreon.
Yay.
So we're going to record our Patreon now for this episode, and we're going to do some yapping, talk about other
Patreon
Patreon exclusive stuff, and answer some questions. And yeah, so thank you guys for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
Move, body, move, your body, you move, body.